following video is a copyright production of the Arkansas Association of High School Officials. Visit our website at AAHSO.com. The Arkansas Association of High School Officials, we're helping good officials get better. Technical assistance provided by Dax Hill, Greg Downham, Tyrone Blanks, and George Demetrio. Our video editor is Kenny Sanders. Our executive producer is Walt Coleman. I'm your host, Todd Allen. I can read the rule book 1,000 times, but it doesn't really sink in until I see it live. With Get It Right, I can see it live. GetItRightTraining.com. Enter the promo code AAHSO and let's get it right. Clear, simple, easy to understand language, the Ready and Study Guide to the NFHS football rules will make you a better football official. If you want to get better at the rules, get this book, the Ready and Study Guide. When you're through learning, you're through. We start this week's training video off with offensive pass interference. And those rules are contained in 7.5.10. It is forward pass interference if any player of Team A or Team B who's beyond the neutral zone, there's a pretty important element right there, beyond the neutral zone, interferes with an eligible opponent's opportunity to move forward, catch, or bat the pass. In Section B, it says any player hinders an opponent's vision without making an attempt to catch, intercept, or bat the ball, even though there is no contact. So those are the elements of pass interference, and wow, that's really, really simple to cover a lot of things that we say and say happens on pass interference. So what we've done to make pass interference a little more easy is just create some philosophies that go along with defensive pass interference, and there are actually 7 of these categories, although I do notice this does say 6. There are 7, and let's talk about the actions that constitute defensive pass interference. But they're included, but they're not limited to these following categories. But it's pretty easy to say that if you look at a play and think that it's potentially defensive pass interference, if you can't immediately put it into one of these 7 categories, you're better off passing on it. I guarantee you'll be right 99.9% of the time. But if you can clearly put it in one of these categories and you begin to think about defensive pass interference, which occurs basically between the waist and the neck of the eligible players in the play, then you get good at finding these 7 categories in the instant a play happens, and you're going to get a lot of pass interference calls correct. So the first one and the most common, early contact by the defender who is not playing the ball, is defensive pass interference, provided the other elements of DPI have been met. Those are what we just talked about. The second one is playing through the back of a receiver in an attempt to make a play on the ball. Third, grabbing and restricting a receiver's arm or body in such a manner that restricts his ability to or opportunity to catch a pass. Extending an arm across the body or an arm bar of a receiver, thus restricting his ability to catch a pass, regardless of the fact of whether or not the defender is looking for the ball. Cutting off or riding the receiver out of the path of the ball by making contact with him without playing the ball. And then hooking and restricting a receiver in an attempt to get to the ball in such a manner that causes the receiver's body to turn prior to the ball arriving. And then that last one, which I've never seen called a face guarding, that I thought was correct, but that is the elements of the last element of defensive pass interference for the National Federation of High School. Let's look at something we get to see even less frequently. Categories of offensive pass interference. These are actions that just constitute pass interference, and they're included but not limited to the following 3 categories. Same principle applies here. If you can put them in one of these categories, you're going to be fine. Initiating contact with the defender by shoving or pushing off, thus creating a separation in an attempt to catch a pass. Driving through a defender who has established a position on the field, and also OPI for just blocking downfield. But it's not going to be called if the passer is illegally grounding the ball. And we know the only way to legally ground the ball, and here's a great time to go back to last week's training video in the National Federation, is take a direct hand-to-hand snap and immediately spike the ball to the ground. So Category 3 is almost never going to apply. But understanding those 3 categories, understanding offensive pass interference, makes officiating these plays a lot easier. Let's take a look at this graphic from GetItRightTraining.com. We can move this thing around, put everybody exactly where we want to put them, and what I like about this is I can be anywhere on the field by just repositioning the camera. But this is a great angle because I can see that the ball's at the 3-yard line, and if I expand that neutral zone behind the defensive line, then I can get to the 5-yard line. That would be the expanded neutral zone. So let's just look at this play and start off with, and we see that this guy in the slot right here comes down and blocks number 55 right here beyond the expanded neutral zone, which is fine right now because the ball hadn't been thrown beyond the line of scrimmage. But we keep running the video, and look, there it is. There's the ball thrown beyond the neutral zone, and it's offensive pass interference as soon as the ball crosses the neutral zone, because this player is blocking beyond the expanded neutral zone. So with Get It Right Training, this great tool that we have provided by Get It Right Training, you can get yours at getitRightTraining.com. Enter the promo code AAHSO, and you can go through all of these different rules that they have and look at these graphics, get anywhere on the field you want to be. This is a great training tool. It'll help you get better. With all of this information we have, let's take a look at this play involving the potential for offensive pass interference. And what we've got here is simply just a 5-receiver set with an empty backfield. And I just want to run through this play one time, then we'll back it up and look at it, break it down mechanically, and see where we do right and do wrong, if you will. And you see these two receivers are just going to cross right here beyond the line of scrimmage, and then we get the foul from the line judge. And this play just goes down the field and ends about the 25-yard line. But let's go back now and break the play down and see just exactly how we handle this mechanically and what goes right and what goes wrong. And the players that are going to be involved in the crossing route are this slot receiver here that comes down, and the 2 receiver here in this trip formation. He's going to come down. There's going to be a little bump right here, or a perfectly legal block by this outside linebacker. But let's just look at this play now, and let me just advance it slowly, get rid of the graphics here. And as we come down, here's the little bump right here, but it doesn't take the receiver off of his route. And then as this middle linebacker comes in to pick up this crossing route, look at the actions of this player right here. Just watch his right shoulder especially. And we know that he's got to avoid this contact, but does anything in what he does look like he avoids the contact? He lowers his shoulder and takes him right off the route. Look at the precision, the timing right there. The ball is out. So again, look at the body language, that slight little hand check right there, and then he lowers the shoulder and bam, takes that player right out. And from what we know about offensive pass interference, the restriction for teammate players, we know he's got to avoid this contact. He's initiating a block. And there's nowhere for him to go because this outside linebacker is just running step for step with him. But that's all perfectly legal. The problem is the contact that's initiated by this slot receiver, number 2 receiver here from the trip formation. And that's a classic example of offensive pass interference, and correctly picked up by the line judge. And we give him a big attaboy for focusing where you're supposed to be watching, understanding the mechanics of the play, the technicalities of the rule, and getting this play right. Just good common sense officiating and a correct call for offensive pass interference. This is an interesting play with a lot of components to look at and talk about. And the first thing I want to talk about is the ball is at the 40-yard line. And so this is the line of scrimmage, and this guy's a little bit suspect whether he's on the line of scrimmage. And they've got 1, 2, 3, 4 other players in the backfield. So if this guy is not on the line of scrimmage, we've got an illegal formation. If you have any questions about that, go watch last week's training video for me, please. It's on the website. Anyway, but let's go look at some other things and talk about this. And I want to talk about defensive holding for a moment, and this is going to be a punt play. And the player that I want you to watch is right in this bunch right here, number 28. And keeping an eye on this close line play is the umpire right here. So let's look at this play, run it through here one time, then I got a good end zone shot that I want to show you. See, there's just a mass here. Look at the umpire pivot with that action, and then we get a flag. Let's go to the end zone shot. And a couple of things I wanted to say before we go to the end zone shot. Let me just remind you about this. All right, ball's at the 40-yard line. All right, the center of the field, the 50-yard line is right in the middle of this logo right here. And the umpire standing right near the 45-yard line. He stays there pretty much through this play. So now let's go back here. It's kind of, I just wanted to give you kind of a reference spot to where we are on the field with all this stuff going on. All right, let's watch this action, and the player that we're going to watch is number 28 here. And I'll run this through a couple of times, give you some looks at it as we break this play down and analyze the mechanics and the judgment here of this umpire in the middle of the field. So the ball's out. Now the kick's away, and look at this. So what we got here is potential for defensive holding. Let's go back here and look at the beginning of the play. Right off the bat, this number 29 or 28, this player right here sets a couple of underneath hooks right here. And that's fine because look at his feet. They're head up. Nothing to look at here. Don't get too worried about this technique with his feet in this position. But now, look, this guy takes an inside move, and look at the hand of the defender. Look at that hand right there. So now the feet are a problem because the defender's to the outside. Hands are a problem, but so far still nothing. Let's just keep watching. Now the offensive lineman's clearly on the outside. The hand of the defenders, look, it's right across the neck. And the feet are beat. And watch the way this athlete runs. Look at that head back. You ever seen a guy run like that? That's not the way an athlete runs. Why would he rock his head back like that? It just doesn't make sense. What's happening is he's getting held by this defensive lineman. Let you watch it here at full speed. Then I'll go through and talk about the elements of defensive holding. The elements of any holding foul. Look at this at full speed. Look at him running. Look at that head back. The umpire gets a flag right there. And now let's talk about holding either side. And with this close line play, there's basically three elements that we want to talk about. And I like to build these three elements in a little staircase. And at the top of the staircase, we can get to a holding foul. So the first element in the staircase is going to be the feet. So as long as I keep my feet in front of my opponent, I can pretty well do whatever I want to with him. You know, I've got great position. Get back here, I got great position on him. There's no way I can really hold him right here unless I do one technique called a reverse takedown. If number 29 right here were to fall backwards and have both hands on this jersey and bring this offensive lineman with him to the ground, that's called a reverse takedown. And that's done with great position of the feet, but it's still a foul. If we see a reverse takedown, then we want to call that holding every time. That's not the case here. But now the feet are beat. So with the feet beat, we've got the first of the staircase cross. Now the next step is an improper technique. And here we got it. Look, we got this arm all the way across this offensive lineman. Now the third element we're going to look for is the most important element, and this is a material restriction. And watch this head and shoulders go back again. There's our material restriction. He is holding this offensive lineman, and feet are beat. Poor technique. Feet are beat. That's the first step. Poor technique. That's the second step. And a material restriction. That's the third step. And now what we've got right here is a holding foul. And a holding foul that's correctly officiated by this umpire. If you watch the play, just go through and you'll see that there's the flag right there. Now, a couple things I want to point out real quickly about this play. And to do that, I need to go to this wide shot. I want you to remember the ball is snapped at the 40. And the foul is going to begin at about the 43 and end at about the 45. And the umpire is going to throw his flag at the 50. And we get to the very end of the play. And what's important about this is where the basic spot is on this foul. So we get down here to the end of the play. The kick ends at about the 17-yard line. Here's where the ball is getting caught. So the back judge, which is positioned right here, we got this play boxed in pretty well. We've got two angles we're looking at. So the back judge is going to need to drop his beanbag, or basic spot indicator, I like to call them, at the 17-yard line where the ball is kicked. And that now becomes our basic spot for what we call post-scrimmage kick fouls. Or the acronym for those are simply just PSK fouls. And this is important because without the benefit of PSK rules, then this 10-yard penalty on the defense would be enforced from the 40-yard line to the 50-yard line. And you see the line to gain here is at the 47. So without PSK fouls, this would be a first down for Team A. But remember, where's the ball when this foul occurs? Let's just track it up now. We're going to follow the foul and the ball here. So keep it moving. All right. So the ball has been kicked. So when does this foul occur? There it is. There's the release, and watch this player run in space. So when this foul occurs, the ball has been kicked and it has not yet been recovered by the receiving team. So why is that important? Post-scrimmage kick fouls are found in Rule 2.16.2H. And this just explains that a post-scrimmage kick foul is a foul by Team R, or the receiving team, other than an illegal substitution or illegal participation. So there's your two exceptions. And the fouls occur when during a scrimmage kick play other than a try or a successful field goal. So here's two more exceptions. Also during a scrimmage kick play in which the ball crosses the expanded neutral zone and the foul occurs beyond the expanded neutral zone. And we know from our previous discussions that the neutral zone expands behind the defensive line by up to 2 yards. And the foul also has to occur before the end of the kick, and Team K is not going to be the next to put the ball into play. So when all of these elements fall into place, then you can have post-scrimmage kick fouls, and I like to think about this as just kind of a progression. Commit to memory because it makes enforcing these types of fouls easier. Now, what exactly is a scrimmage kick? We need to go to definitions and find. We know what a kick is. Really important, understanding about a kick. It is a deliberate act. If I'm running and another player drops the ball and the ball hits my foot and moves in a direction after striking my foot, I did not kick the ball unless I did it on purpose. So we know what we kind of got an idea what a kick is. But what does what's scrimmage mean? Scrimmage is found in 2.38. It's just the action of the two teams during a down, which begins with a legal snap. So a free kick is a perfect example of a kick that is not a scrimmage kick, because a free kick or a kickoff doesn't have a legal snap before it. We just go out there and set the ball on tee and kick it. Another example of a play involving a kick that is not a scrimmage kick is going to be a free kick following a fair catch or an awarded fair catch. And that's a crazy play I've only seen once in my whole career. We'll talk about that some other time. But another important element of these post-scrimmage kick fouls is in 10.4.3, which just says that the basic spot is where the kick ends when R commits a post-scrimmage kick foul, and there it references 2.16.2H, which we just read. And R fouls behind the post-scrimmage kick spot, these are spot fouls. So two really important elements of the basic spot on post-scrimmage kick fouls. Now, how does this relate to this play that we just watched? Because again, if we don't have PSK fouls, this is going to be a first down for Team A. But the foul meets all of the criteria that we outlined in 2.16.2H. So where's the basic spot? We know by 10.4.3 the basic spot is now where the kick ends. How do we know where a kick ends? A kick ends when the possession is gained, regained, or the ball becomes dead by rule. In this particular play, the kick ends when the receiving team gains possession of the ball and begins to run. Once anyone gains possession of the ball, the kick rules turn off. And now we just simply have a running play. And there are opportunities when the kicking team can advance a kick. We like to say the kicking team can't advance a kick. That's wrong. Because if a kick goes beyond the expanded neutral zone and then comes back without possession being gained, then K can pick it up behind their neutral zone and advance it. It's just a running play now. So enforcement spots and basic spots are just like any other running play, which we know from previous discussions are the end of the run. So put all of these things together, we have this play. We have two kudos here. We've got a correct call for defensive holding by the umpire here, or holding by the receiving team, if you will. Meets the criteria for post-scrimmage kick, so we enforce this foul from the 17-yard line, which is the end of the kick. Correctly enforced here, PSK foul rules. Let's take a look at this play, and I want to talk about this one's going to involve the punter, who is here on the screen. And the elements that are interesting about this play is we normally would think about the receiving team being swimming upstream by moving this way. But in this play, there's a great deal of flow going to the outside. And so this player's position relative to the kicker is going to be in an upstream motion because he's going to move this way. The other thing that's interesting about this play is the time element, because there's not a great deal of time. You see now, he's engaged, but this player's focus of concentration is, it's actually up here. Because we do have an active runner who's here, and he is going to move toward the action to participate in the play. But he's still defenseless because of his focus of concentration is making him much more susceptible to injury. And now now we're swimming upstream, and here is the contact high. And bam, player just lands on his head. So all the elements are in place here, although the duration's very short. He is swimming upstream. He does make contact with his opponent high, and this opponent is a defenseless player. So we have all of those elements, and we do rule this an unnecessary roughness foul. We do not call this targeting, as you see the referee's flag right here, and we do support this play for unnecessary roughness. Our longest training video of the year, and all 3 plays we looked at were plays that we had done right. We're doing a lot of things right, and I appreciate all the hard work and effort that everybody's putting in to improve officiating every week on the field. Here's my email address, Todd@AAHSO. If you'd like to drop me an email and tell me how you're using the training videos or what we can include that might help your crew, I'd love to hear from you. Until next week, Todd Allen saying I hope to see you on the field real soon.